Thank you, Tanya, for recording. My name is Brad Lopez. For those of you that haven't met me yet, serving as Vice Chair for the Yolo County Fire Safe Council. Chief Becky Ramirez with Yochidehi, she's our chair for our council. She could not make it today and had prior obligations that she needed to respond to, so I'll be filling in for her behalf. Action items we have for today: approving the agenda for July 27th meeting.
Vice Chair moves approval.
All right,
I'll second that.
Bill. Thank you, Don. First by Bill and second by Don. All those in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries. Next action item we have is approving the meeting minutes from June 22nd meeting. Can I get a motion for approving the meeting agenda or meeting?
I'll move that we approve the minutes from June 22nd.
Thank you, Don Palm. First from Don.
Second, Neil Van Alphen.
Thank you, Neil. Second by Neil. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries. Next item on member announcements. Tanya, do you know if we have any member announcements?
I have one announcement. I have a box of a wonderful, useful document. It is made by CAL FIRE, so it's very readable, easy to use. It's 28 pages of preparing your home and property for wildfire, and of course, preparing yourself to get in and out as needed. With evacuation, pre-evacuation, and even returning home after a fire. So I have a box of these. I'm planning on attending the West Winters Fire Safe Council meeting in August, and I'm sure I'll see the Cape Valley folks soon so I can deliver some of these, but we also have them at our office here. So yeah, that's my announcement.
Great, fantastic. Thanks for sharing. Any other member announcements? If hearing none, we'll move on to reports. Looks like we have Yolo County OES, Kurt Johnson.
Thanks, Chief. No, nothing new except for I know this will be a positive thing to hear from a few in Winters and KP. We got all the ROE right to enter paperwork pretty much dialed in, and we're going to be getting ready to hopefully send it out early next week. My points of contacts know who they are, and I'll reach out to them, and we'll get the balls rolling so we can get some of that work done and keep things moving along. So other than that, unless anybody has any questions, I will move it along to where's next. Ken?
Yeah, just that's the project is the big fuel removal, the woodlots and such.
Yeah, there's actually I think a total of like there's like six different fuel modification projects, stuff in
Also the roadside.
Yeah,
The roadside fuel as well. Great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Seeing no one else come off of mute, I'll pass it back to Chief.
Thank you, Kurt. Good announcement there. Projects moving forward. Next is our CD coordinator. Is that going to be you, Tanya?
Yeah, so this packet went out last week, but I just wanted to just highlight a few things in the calendar, which is, and we seem to have, everyone has got set meetings now, which is awesome. So we have our meeting, which is the 4th Wednesday. So our next one will be August 24th. Severa does every Wednesday. West Winters does every third Wednesday. Pleasance Valley does every second Monday. And then we have our Yolo County, Solano County Leadership Team meeting, which is the fourth Monday. So we just had one a couple days ago. So the next one is August 22nd. We do have a website advisory committee meeting, which is as needed. And I'll give a little update on that. And then the California Fire Safe Council has their brown bag regional meetings every fourth Thursday. So there's one tomorrow if you want the link to join that. It's just an hour at noon. And those can be quite useful too. It's folks from all over Northern California. And I just wanted to really quickly go over the community wildfire protection plan. We do have, I mentioned last time, we have an outline that's been accepted by the committee. And I've been going to share this information with our fire protection district commissioners and had a couple meetings with fire chiefs, just so, you know, all the firefighters or fire departments in the county are aware of what's going on with the wildfire protection plan. Trying to nail down a community meeting for the Capay Valley in the next couple of weeks. And we do need to have a draft submitted by fall so that CAL FIRE has some time to review it. So it'll be done next year, August 15th. So that is what I have for the timeline. Is there any questions on that? All right, nice.
Hi, Tanya, this is Sarah Simmons. Sorry to interrupt, but I actually
That's
have
okay.
a question for Kurt. I couldn't hear very well, so I was in the middle of switching from computer to phone so I could put in some earbuds, and I missed, is there a start date for the fuel reduction, the fuel removal projects? I heard that, I thought I heard you say that the right of entry forms are done and moving forward, but is there anything
No.
on the calendar?
Yeah,
Okay.
nothing yet. So it'll probably be, the dates will be formalized probably over the next week or two. Have to get a schedule with the vegetation removal company, the tree people. And then obviously
Okay,
with the
great.
individual, and then the individual property owners obviously would have to be involved in that
Mhm.
process too.
Fantastic. Thank you for answering that question.
Okay, I see up next, grant opportunities update by Heather Nichols.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be back. I'll give you a quick update. Kate Risa is on vacation, so I'm going to do the grants. Really, grant opportunities in general have kind of slowed down for fire season, but there is one new thing that came up since last we met, and it is an effectiveness monitoring program grant through the Natural Resources Agency. And this is a grant that's available. What's interesting about this one is, first of all, what they're funding is project investigators who want to test California forest practices for efficacy. But the other part of the other interesting part is fire districts could apply, private landowners can apply, special districts like the RCD can apply, nonprofits can apply, UC Davis or higher institutions can apply. There isn't a lot of funding, it's statewide. They have about $120,000 in its competitive process this year, and then we'll have about $425,000 the next couple of years. But if there's kind of a burning question, excuse my phrasing, that we have specific to Yolo, there might be someone in this group or that we can contact to explore that possibility. So it's for white paper production, putting together, a scientific publication. So it's, it's a scientific research-based grant. And if anyone wants to have a copy of those grant guidelines, we can get those to you. More practically speaking, and what would be of interest to our 2 fire safe councils in Yolo County, which are West Winters and Seavera, is that the RCD, we're going to be able to, through a Department of Conservation grant that we have, provide those 2 fire safe councils with what we're calling mini grants, $1,000 mini grant for each fire safe council for the purpose of buying little things you might need that will help with your outreach efforts. Things like pop-up tents and banners and a folding table and printing posters and flyers and that kind of thing. And that's something we can, we have a final draft of an application for put together. We're still finishing that up, so we provide clarity on what could be funded, what can't be funded, that kind of thing. We've been working with Solano RCD on a similar thing. So they have this same DOC funding over there that they're also going to be doing that with and talking about at their meeting later today at 6. So that's the long and short of it we have right now in grant funds. Our other programs are, the Chipper program and the Reflect to Detect program are active. The Prescribed Burn Association is going to be kicking off. We'll be kicking that off in the next month or 2. Anybody have any questions about that? Cool.
Thank you, Heather. Good. So next one is Outreach and Website Development Committee report. Tanya?
Thank you. So Allie is also on vacation, but she has been busily working on our website for the Yolo County Fire Safe Council. So I just looked at a draft and it's looking pretty good. Like the graphics are really nice. So we may have one more website development committee meeting before we launch it out to the public. But that looks really good. The other thing, when she gets back, we're planning on sending a bulk mailing to the Capay Valley to let folks who are not as social media savvy know about our our chipper program and our address sign program. So yeah, we use the good old fashioned postal service. And speaking of the address sign program, so we have address signs made and we've got posts to mount them on with hardware for those who need them. So our next step, probably next week, because Joaquin is out for the rest of the week also, is starting to get those out to people. So they're big old signs that were approved by the Yolo County Chiefs. And of course, we're still taking orders for those if people live in a high fire zone. If you live in Davis, you go get one. And then Allie's also been doing a lot of Instagram and Facebook posts for the Fire Safe Council. So lots of education and outreach going on. And that's it I have for outreach. If anyone has any questions on that. I guess I'll do my own little outreach right now. We've got some new folks on this meeting from the UC Natural Reserve, the UC Davis Natural Reserve System and Tweedy Creek Council. So I'd like to invite you guys to join. We have a small application that we ask you to fill out if you want to continue to participate in this Fire Safe Council.
Tanya, I had a question. This is Rose from Pleasant Valley Fire Safe Council. I had a question about the signs. So are you handing those out and then homeowners are responsible to properly install those where they want them located? Is that how that's going?
That's a good question. So we definitely want them to be installed properly. And when we hand them out, we'll have a set of guidelines. Here's how you do it. There are some people obviously who aren't able to install their own signs, so we'll help them with that. And actually our Fire Safe Councils will also be helping us with the follow through, because we don't want to just hand them over a sign and then, fingers crossed that they put it up. Don't just throw it in the back of their truck. But yeah, there's guidelines, so that it doesn't get in the way of roadside equipment, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Thank you, Tanya. Moving on, Solano RCD, I don't see Chris Rose, but maybe Corinne Young, do you have an update?
Hi, getting ready for the Solano County Fire Safe Council kickoff meeting, which is mostly our update. For the moment, we've got our meeting starting at 6 o'clock this evening. There are WebEx options available. I did see Tanya sent that out. So if anybody would like to join in, I know we have a few Solano County residents in this meeting, or if you're just curious what's going on across the creek, we would love to have you here. It's going to be a soft opening. We're still developing membership guidelines and the structure, but we're happy to have some energy going and be bringing this to the public. That's been taking up a lot of our efforts for the recent weeks. But as Tanya mentioned, we will also be doing that Department of Conservation mini grant. So that will be going out to the fire safe councils within Solano County. And we are working on developing our work plans for other projects under that Department of Conservation grant that we hope will be very useful for future grant applications targeting things like tree removal in creeks and along roadways. So lots of things coming soon, hopefully.
Okay, great. And I'm sorry, is it Corinne or Karen?
Karen, no worries.
Karen. Sorry, Karen. Hey, kudos to you guys and folks over there in Solano County.
Thanks.
And just excited to hear a lot of the collaborative efforts that are moving forward on both sides. So great work.
Thank you. We've had a great example to follow along in the recent months. So thanks, Yolo, for that.
Thank you. Any questions for Karen? No? All right, moving on. Community Fire Safe Council reports, Cape Valley. What's going on in Cape Valley?
Well,
go ahead, John.
Basically, the update is we're continuing to meet and continuing to plan, but nothing specific for the Fire Safe Council report unless Moira has some more to add.
All right, Jonathan, thank you.
It looks like Tracy Cattleman got on a little late. She's been working with Severa and could mention some upcoming grants, which is a little off topic, but not really.
Hi, and I actually was on my phone, just got on video. Yeah, going back to what you were talking about with funding sources, the word we're hearing is that the CAL FIRE fire prevention grants and forest health grants are probably going to open up in September. And that last time around, the approach for fire prevention was to kind of lump everything together. This time, the word is spread it out. So like if you've got a fuel reduction project, you've got an education project, all that, submit separate proposals. So I would encourage everybody to go on the website and look at what they funded in the past, go to CAL FIRE and then grants, and just start looking at the kind of things they like to fund. And they probably have the guidelines up there from last year, and start thinking about what you want to do. And like all the local fire safe councils could apply, as well as the countywide fire safe councils and all that. So that's the word I'm hearing, is submit a bunch of different proposals, because as we all know, there's a lot of money right now and we don't know how long that's going to last. Other thing I heard is that there's a lot of money. There's money in forest health grants and there's less competition for forest health grants. So if you have any bigger projects of like 1,000 acres, they don't have to be continuous. Although I think it's better that way. The difference is the forest health grants are really about restoring forest health as well as doing fuel reduction, all that. So I'm happy if somebody wants to do a forest health grant and just bounce some ideas off me. I'm happy to talk to you about it. We just got one over Napa last week that we're just starting, so that's pretty exciting. That's it.
Great, thank you, Tracy, and welcome. Checking in with Pleasant Valley Fire Safe Council.
We did just get our FireWise certification about 10 days ago, so very exciting. And we got it over a very large area, so it's spread out over 8 zones. And so we have 8 zone captains spread over a large area over approximately 1,100 parcels. So very exciting. And we're also starting to work with the Green Valley Fire Safe Council on a couple different fundraising events that we're planning for the fall. So looking forward to our 6 o'clock meeting. So I'm going to actually be buzzing out of here in about 5 minutes, but our next meeting is actually just a potluck get together. We've been meeting for about a year now, and every meeting has been crammed full of information, and we're just going to try to get together with all of the members, as many as possible, try to invite new people, try to get everyone together just for a bit potluck, and try to invite as many new members as possible because we have so many people in this large area. We're just trying to get all the members together and hoping to maybe cleave off eventually into a couple of fire safe councils. That's our long-term goal, but right now, just to get people in these different zones, it's a really big deal for us. So that's where we're at this week.
All right, Rose, thank you for the update. Kudos to you folks out there. Thanks for sharing. Wes Winters update. What's going on in Wes Winters?
Ken, do you want to give the report?
Sure, I can do it. I think one big news item was mentioned last month. The grant to the California Fire Foundation that kudos to Chief Lopez. He and I sat down at his desk, which is in sight, and did the final application, and it was just funded. So we have about 5K for, we've proposed 4 signs at strategic locations in the West Winters area, which are mostly, the big action thing there is a QR code, which will allow incoming first responders coming in from wherever they don't know this area, point their phone at it, get local information that'll help them fight the fire. So that will be rolling. So we have to just work the plan out as how to do the back end data stuff. And we have estimates for the signs, do a little design. Should be going soon.
Great, thank you, Ken. Really kudos go to Ken. He did the hard work and wrote the grant and got all the costs together, and we were just able to kind of help our local council out with securing that grant. So good collaboration there. Good sign of some work being done there collectively and building partnerships.
Yeah, I'm just thrilled that this happened, and it seemed it's a great partnership. So thank you also, Chief Lopez, for supporting Wes Winters through that, and Ken for the putting in the sweat and hopefully not too many tears.
It actually wasn't that hard. Yeah, I think it was ended up being about an hour per $1,000 or something. About the same as NIH grants.
Yeah, it's a good resource to share with other councils. California Fire Foundation, like Ken said, it was a really easy process, and some low-hanging fruit that might be out there available for your projects. All right, moving on. It looks like we have a special presentation. I'll turn it over to Tanya for the introduction of that.
Thank you. Yes. We have Devin LeBlanc here from Ember Defense, and he and I had spoken a few months ago about their company, and he also spoke last month at the Pleasant Valley Fire Safe Council. We Now, we talk a lot about home hardening and what you can do, but then a lot of people are sort of left with, wow, that's a big job. What do I do now? So Ember Defense actually has some tools to help us out and some great information. So I'm just going to turn it over to Devin.
Thanks, Tanya. Nice to meet everyone. Thanks for having me. And that's really why Ember Defense was born, is because when you would sit in some of these meetings just like this, really to understand and educational wise of what's going on, what homeowners need to do to protect themselves. There wasn't a whole lot of answers 5 years ago when we started this on why, okay, it's great, I know what I need to do, but I need somebody to help me do it and actually put these and implement these sort of steps. So it's kind of how we started and evolved over the years. But I put together a little presentation really focusing on the home hardening side. The defensible space has really been driven home. People are starting to really understand that, but the structure hardening, the home hardening side is still relatively new and is starting to really catch on. But let me share my screen here. And I'm going to presentation mode. There we go. Okay, so really, as you look back, not too many years ago, what came to highlight was a number of fires that boots on the ground, firefighters on the ground, we're seeing homes and structures being lost well outside of the main flame front. Kind of similar to a situation like this in this photo where you've got a home standing, 2 lost, 2 more standing, another one lost. And you're noticing that how a fire was kind of skipping through neighborhoods. And it might be a long ways away, or you start looking at the vegetation in between those structures and nothing was burned. And how was it going from structure to structure when the trees and the vegetation kind of in between were still standing? So then a whole lot of effort went into from both public and private side to understand, okay, what's going on here? What are we missing? One of the leaders in that, I believe, is the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety, IBHS. If you haven't seen this video put on by them, I'm going to attempt to play it here. I didn't have the greatest luck the other day, and I'll skip through. But they built a house inside of essentially a big wind tunnel and showered it with an ember storm to really identify, okay, what's all the weak points on a structure. Let me skip here. So what happened is they built a model home with different types of building materials, from a shake roof, a asphalt roof, different types of siding, vinyl siding, to vinyl gutters, metal gutters, placed vegetation within that 0 to 5 range, and kind of see, okay, what happens when that starts to ignite? Crevices on the rooftop, vents, homes were being lost, and they're actually igniting from the inside out. And so, okay, what's going on there? How are embers getting in? How are they intruding into the attic, into the crawl space? And then eventually, what can we do to actually mitigate those risks? So I'll kind of skip ahead here. That ember storm just begins to ignite every little point, and debris built up in the gutters gets this gutter line on fire, and the vinyl drops away, continues to burn at the base, high risk. Metal gutters still filled with debris, still eventually catch the fascia on fire. You can see the piles of debris that's in the crevice or the valley of the roof. That really starts to get going. The plants at the base of the structure, that begins to ignite. Then you look at seeing how that interacts with vinyl siding versus maybe T111 or hardy board. There's a real eye opener from this. Here you see how the vinyl siding on the right hand side there just begins to melt away, where the left hand side can really take a lot of heat. Most T111, hardy board especially, siding like that can hold up a lot of heat before they start to fail. Here's a camera inside the attic showing how embers just blow inside. Well, each one of those embers is another, call it little match blowing inside, and it potentially igniting a dry tinderbox of an attic space. So that was a big eye opener at the time, and really started to redefine what the priorities are when it comes to things that homeowners and property owners can do to protect themselves. It rearranged a little bit. It used to be just be defensible space. That's all you could ever do. Well, it turns out after unfortunately losing too many structures and all that available research as they went in and understand, okay, what happened here, reordered everything. I kind of group them into, you got the 5 categories, but also the top one I lump into 1A, 1B, and 1C. Each one of them equally as important across it. So your roof and roof edge, attic and crawl space vents, and your defensible space. Extremely important. You can start to kind of rearrange these depending on what that individual property has. If they got great defensible space, maybe that drops down lower on the list. But in a general sense, this is kind of where it went. And then it goes into decks, windows, eaves, siding, and I'll touch on each one of these. So beginning with your roof, the most obvious, the biggest risk being that shingle roof that you see there in the big photo. That's with the new modern building codes, it's pretty much eliminated for any new construction in the WUI areas. You still see it. Risky. Best thing to do is just swap it out for a Class A roof. But even with Class A roofs, that debris that builds up on top, on the upper right photo there, where debris is just accumulated in that pocket as it meets up to where that vertical facing wall of the second story. That's out of sight, out of mind for anybody on the ground, but that's also a perfect little ember catcher up there for embers to nestle into and ignite, and then you're putting that siding at risk. The roof will hold up to quite a bit of heat, and that's a pretty deep pile there. But that's another common misconception with homeowners that we talk to is, you know, what if I want to put water on my roof? Well, okay, do you have debris built up like this? Is it something that you can maintain? Is it a Class A roof? Likely going to drop lower onto your list if you already have that Class A roof. So routine maintenance on a roof like that is really all you need. But when you go to the roof edge, your gutter line, gutters are a significant risk. And when you look at it a little bit closer, you've got the debris that is built up in that lower left photo. That ignites. Embers drop in, land on the roof, roll into the gutter, ignite. And then you could have that Class A roof, but your fascia or exposed wood, if you've got exposed wood in that center photo, upper center, that ignites your fascia on fire. And then it works its way into your roof line. You could really get into the nitty gritty details about, okay, does it have that exposed wood? Does it have an integrated metal drip edge that helps reduce the likelihood of a potential ignition on that edge? The lower right photo is an example. It's a home in the glass fire. Debris in the gutters ignited, started to catch the fascia on fire. Right there, you can see the charring of the fascia below the slate roof. Fortunately, somebody was there to extinguish it. His neighbors were not too lucky, and he was the only one left standing on the block there. But easy solution is an all metal gutter guard. Clean up the gutters, install an all metal gutter guard, and eliminates that being a risk. It also twofold benefit of I don't have to maintain your gutters, and completely eliminates that. We're still seeing foam, quote unquote, foam gutter guards, but really we still pull a lot of debris out with that. Some of them are treated with what's supposed to be a fire retardant coating on them, but that's just eventually going to wear off over time, and really don't want to see those for homes in the WUI area either. Next is your attic and crawl space vents. Here's several different examples, and it's just prioritizing. You can go further prioritize these. So starting from the top down is typically the highest risk. So vertical facing walls, lower right is your gable. That wind driven ember storm blows in through the through that vent, just like you saw in the video, ignites from the inside. And you have roof vents, dormer vents, different styles within that, foundation vents, all becoming all a risk. Now, first thing is, okay, what type of screen is on that existing vent? If it's got it, the minimum standard is less an 1/8 inch screen or less, but we really like to see even a little bit less than an 1/8 inch screen, somewhere between a 1/16 and an 1/8 inch. They've still proven that an ember can carry enough energy that gets through an 1/8 inch screen to ignite the flammable materials in an attic. So 16 screen, next best option is retrofitting with a ember and fire rated vent. These are building code requirements for any homes, new homes being built. It's mandatory to either no vents or an ember and fire rated vent, but they can be retrofitted. These are a few examples of those foundation vents, gable vents, eaves, cupolas. We really strive to make it look no different than it did before, and eliminates your vents as becoming a risk. So just right there, you've knocked out two of the largest, real significant risks for homes, just by adding gutter guards and retrofitting the vents. Defensible space, I'm not going to talk too much on this. One I do want to point out is that 0 to 5, how critical that zone has become. In the past, when it first was established, it was kind of 0 to 30, then 30 to 100. Well, zone 0 now, they had to back up. And that's 0 from the base of the wall out 5 feet is extremely important. Your house is that big ember catcher. Ember storm bouncing off the walls, landing at the base. And what do you have within that 0 to 5 to ignite around your deck at the base really puts everything at jeopardy, because you're starting to talk about significant direct flame contact and radiant heat, at your windows, at those vents. So ideally, we want to see a non-combustible 0 to 5 foot zone right there. And then once you get outside past that, we're really looking at vegetation spacing and removing ladder fuels and wicking fuels. That's all I'm going to say on the defensible space side. But what you can do with that is apply a long-term fire retardant. And a relatively new product that was invented by Stanford is Fortify. It's called Foscheck Fortify. So Perimeter Solutions, the manufacturer of the red stuff being dropped out of planes, bought the rights to this product. It's a real game changer for a proactive approach to strengthening defensible space. And you can apply it at the beginning of the fire season. We started about mid-May timeframe. End of May we had some late rains there. Applied to strengthen that defensible space. And it's not a substitute for correct defensible space, but it is that additional layer of defense. We really focus in on multiple layers of defense. There's no one single solution to solve this problem. So multiple layers of defense is the key here. Now for decks, very difficult, especially when you're talking about an existing deck and not when you're doing a new construction build. There's just so many weak points on it. There's a few things that really stand out. The biggest thing is getting the debris out from underneath the deck. That's the big risk. Embers blow out from underneath it, ignite all that debris that's been kind of swept away, blown away underneath, out of sight, out of mind. Don't really see it as being a risk, but those embers blow underneath, ignite that vegetation or that the leaves and pine needles and debris, and then that ignites the deck from underneath. So clean it out, screen it, and to prevent new debris from accumulating underneath. And you're significantly reducing the likelihood. There's the finer details. It's been, they found that interface between the deck and the vertical wall, where the embers like to get buried into by the winds, will accumulate there significantly. If you've got debris built up in that corner, that ignites and then ignites that top board. So a metal flashing in there, or even converting to a non-combustible first board is another good option. There's other things you can do, pulling up the top boards, putting in a non-combustible, what this is showing is a foil-faced bitumen tape. for that interface where an ember could land and rest on. It can be rather costly, but that's another big weak point. So siding, different kind of siding. You start looking at, okay, a vinyl siding like that upper right photo, significant risk, but now what can you do to mitigate that risk? It's a pretty big construction project to replace that, but now it may be able to hold up to an ember storm. It's not going to hold up to that radiant heat threat or direct flame exposure, but now can you remove that that heat threat and radiant heat threat? Can you get that pushed far enough back if you've got the space to where now you're only needing to weather the ember storm, in which case an ember is far less likely to ignite that final siding. But even the finest little details of kind of back to the importance of your 0 to 5 zone is any kind of flammable ground cover or debris like that center photo of what could be a relatively harmless ground fire that's working its way through is brought to the house. It's got that debris all the way up to this corner. You've got siding that extends down, nearly touching it. So as that fire crept along, it now has an opportunity to ignite the siding on fire there. So little details, removing that that flammable ground cover debris, pushing it back, but then also seeing, we like to see at least a 6-inch gap between the bottom of the siding and the ground. So if you do happen to have a little bit of debris built up, you're giving it some spacing there that it's less likely to jump up and ignite your siding there. Lower left is another photo from the IBHS test demonstrating the difference between right side being built with fire in mind and the left side not, and just being showered with embers in this case. So there are things you can do. Verdict is still out in some of these coatings. There's additives you can do to coatings to bring up and give siding a more resilient function to heat and flames, but best option really is just get that heat threat back away from it. That's the kind of quick down and dirty of what we're looking at. It really all starts with an on-site evaluation to come out and really understand what those risks are, walk the property, identify what needs to be removed, limbed up, thinned out, what's the kind of help prioritize the risks, and then what can be done to mitigate each one of those risks. And there's great organizations out there that are doing the on-site evaluations to help understand that for free. And that's probably the best thing to get people to do out of the gate. We're absolutely here, and this is what we specialize in, including the retrofitting vents, installing gutter guards, the long-term fire retardant, sprinkler systems. We do as well as that extra layer of defense for people needing that. Yeah, that was my quick spiel. Any questions or comments, concerns?
Devin, we have a question in the chat from Tracy. What counties are you currently working in?
We're all over the Bay Area. We're actually based out of Suisun Valley, or just outside of Fairfield. And we've got crews, though. We travel. Most of our work is through Napa Valley over to Santa Rosa, down through North Bay, South Bay, the peninsula, East Bay. We cover a pretty big region.
Great presentation, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for Devin? Yeah, I have a question. Oh, so Devin, also in the chat, can you provide a web link? Oh, there we go. But I've had this explained to me once and I couldn't remember. Embers can get into your house through your vents and other places, not just through wind blowing them in, but isn't there a temperature change that can draw the embers in?
Yep. So the way your vents work especially your attic, is you've got your lower E vents that act as your inlet, and then your upper E or your upper vents, or your gables, your roof vents, that's the exit. So hot air naturally likes to rise. Your E vents act as little vacuums. They're pulling in and your upper vents are blowing out. Now winds can affect that and kind of change that, but naturally, natural air movement is in through your eaves, out through your roof.
Okay, so a little embers going through there is not going to help the situation.
No, no, definitely not.
So do you consider Solano and Yolo counties part of the greater Bay Area?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm looking out that direction right now, not far. So yeah, we absolutely right here to help. It's not.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
This might be a little technical, but a neighbor just re-sided their house and the contractor declared that the particular kind of vinyl that they put on the siding, which was combination insulation and vinyl, was Class A. Is there any Class A vinyl that you know of?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a great question. Not that I'm aware of, but I'm not totally up to speed on the latest building materials. And I mean, if it meets the Class A, what it should also fall under is meeting that criteria for, which is really clear in the Chapter 7A building codes of what it is, and then the approved building materials list. Was it the building BML?
Yeah, so they also might be that the contractor didn't really know and was pulling the wool over the eyes of the homeowner. You never know. Some
Yeah.
contractors are better trained on this kind of stuff than others.
Yeah, definitely. But probably the most common thing that we see that is really frustrating is like a re-roof. And that's a great opportunity to upgrade all the vents, bring them into a fire and ember resilient vent, and they just put on a standard vent. I mean, the price difference is almost insignificant from a new construction side, and they just don't do it. And then we're in there a month later and retrofitting them to give them that protection. So, yeah.
Well, that particular siding did get hit by some flames in the LNU fire and did all right. It melted, but didn't catch. I don't know how hot the
Okay.
flames were. I wasn't here to look.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Good
who knows?
question.
Glad to hear that, Ken. Devin, can you talk about how stucco holds up in a fire, more or less?
Yeah, so stucco, generally good shape in a stucco. It's really how it was assembled too. So that outer stucco layer, then what's behind it. There could be a type of foam layer behind a stucco. If it's that foam and you've got a real significant heat threat that is just going to spend a lot of time hitting that stucco, it can actually ignite that foam that's on the backside. So knowing how it was constructed or what material is behind it is important. And then also underneath a stucco construction, so it's called a weep screed. It allows that stucco between the stucco and the interior wall or the next layer in to breathe and vent. And so it's like a mini vent underneath the stucco. So there it's important to back to 0 to 5, keep that from igniting, because if you feel underneath the stucco edge, you'll feel a hole, like a little mini hole that's maybe a 3/8 to a 1/2 inch in diameter, about every 8 inches or so, all the way along the bottom. And then that's just direct exposure to flammable behind the stucco. But embers aren't going to catch a stucco house on fire. So you got decent amount of protection there. Okay.
Like there's a question from Kate Laddish.
Thanks. It's a related question. So when my apartment building was redone 7 years ago and they put handy board right on top of the old wood siding, it sounds like the main thing for somebody to check would just be if there are gaps that embers could get into. Because I've been thinking, we're at least in better shape now than we were, but
yeah, hardy board is great. It's essentially a cement. If it's over the top, now hardy board still transfers that heat.
Okay.
Now, when you look at a situation of fire, the likelihood when a fire comes through and by a house like that, usually that heat is pretty short, a short amount of time. We're talking minutes before what was ignited, that shrub that was next to the house eventually burns out, and it doesn't continue to just hit that wall. The hardy board will hold up to quite a bit. It still eventually, heat transfer will still get through that and potentially ignite from the inside. So when we're walking with customers, even if they can't live without it, can you reduce the fuel load and thin it out where you keep the same general shape and maybe the privacy from the neighbor, but it's going to burn a lot less and with less intensity too. So it doesn't give that to hit that hardy board. Now, then you start really, if the heat was so intense that it passed through the hardy board, ignited from the inside, your windows probably didn't make it at that point too. So you kind of look at the other layers of two. Double pane windows are 4 times less likely to blow out compared to single pane windows. So that gives you, that's the importance of having the double pane over single pane. But if you've got single pane, can you remove the heat threat? And now you're in good situation again.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, looks like there's a few questions came in.
Yeah, I accidentally disabled the chat for a minute, but I think it's fixed. So I'll be saving these links and putting them in the minutes for this meeting.
Devin or Tanya, I think one of the questions in the chat, I think Bill mentioned if the presentation might be available to share or access for folks.
Yep, just one easy payment of $49.99 and you just download it. I'm kidding. I'll send it out and feel free to forward it on.
Yeah, well, we've been recording this meeting and then we post the meeting on our website. So that usually takes a few days. Actually, our outreach coordinator is on vacation, but I'll have her do it first thing next week.
Good point. Okay. All right, with that, Devin, again, thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Very helpful, informational, and a tool. Great.
Awesome. No worries. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Would you mind unsharing your screen or?
Yes.
There we go. Good to see some happy faces. All right, so next item I see on our list is new topics for next meeting. Is there something that?
Right, so I've just been collecting topics for the next, for any upcoming meeting. Last time folks were interested in grazing for fire protection, so I've got some leads on that. But if there's any other things you guys want me to find a speaker for, let me know. Something pops into your head right now. My pen.
Okay, if not now, I mean, obviously an opportunity to either through email or whatever to maybe through Tanya.
Yep.
Throw topics or ideas, something that may come up between now and our next meeting. Before, I want to be mindful, we're kind of hitting the hour mark, I want to be mindful of people's time. Any just general sharing around the table for anybody before we close our meeting today?
Could I talk just really briefly about the Red Cross?
Hi, John. Yeah, sure.
So, you know, the Red Cross is mostly recognized for the response effort and for some recovery that we do. But it's important also to be conscious of we have a really extensive preparation program. And I just wanted to let you guys know that we do presentations that are really more like activities that can work with anybody from the age of 5 up to groups like ours, the Fire Safe Council, that are intended to help people put together a really effective action plan. In the case of one of the presentations, is called the Pillowcase Project. And young people just kind of, they're given a pillowcase and a list of the items that they need to be able to be sure that they're putting in that pillowcase so they're prepared if something comes up and it's an emergency, whether it's wildfire or it's a home fire or one day there'll be floods. We can do presentations for businesses. We can do presentations for neighborhoods. The idea is that we talk with you about what you think your group might be most interested in, and then we shape it to whatever length of time and what kind of audience you want to have. And if you think that that the local schools where you are could use presentations, just mention us, and we can follow through and make the connections. We have a really active and great imaginative group of presenters. One of the interesting things that's come out of this COVID thing is that
sorry, I'm in a meeting. Just give me the details and I'll Venmo.
Okay. We're much more active in Zoom, and Zoom actually works really well in terms of one of these projects because you can get people to work around their bedrooms and pull things together. So there are silver linings in all kinds of weird places, and I just wanted to make sure that you all know that we're available for you.
All right, Don, thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? I see our next meeting. Tanya, when do we have our next meeting scheduled for?
It's the 24th of August.
24th of August. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for taking time out of your day to attend. A lot of good things going on. Wish everybody well in their day and future week. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Chief Lopez.
Bye, everybody.